It's 5:45 p.m., which means it's time for BCTV's weekly media roundup, 5:45 Live. I'm Abby Sherlock.
And I'm Roland Boyden. On deck tonight, lots of primary coverage as Bernie faces off with Hillary across the river in New Hampshire. Plus, we'll get you footage from this week's big gas plant forum in Vernon, the details on Leland and Gray's budget, which did pass this week, and much more, including a packed Gallery Walk edition of our calendar, complete with a cappella in downtown.
All that and more in just 15 minutes, so stick with us.
And with that, welcome back to this February 5th, 2016 edition of 5:45 Live. A look there at some of today's weather as a blanket of snow across the region has helped to serve as a reminder that it is in fact still winter in New England, regardless of this week's groundhog shadow-based ruling. And while the morning commute was definitely hairy, our latest reports suggest that DPW in Brattleboro has the roads in good shape for tonight's Gallery Walk.
And with that, into the headlines we go, and as promised, we have plenty of primary coverage from Iowa through to New Hampshire, but first we head south to Vernon, as this Wednesday, the Vernon Planning Commission hosted a public forum to prep residents for a townwide vote on a non-binding resolution that developers of a proposed gas-fired power plant say they'll use to determine whether or not to proceed with the project in Vernon. The plant, which would tie into the highly controversial Kinder Morgan pipeline, is currently proposed to use space vacated by Vermont Yankee as decommissioning continues to shrink the nuclear plant's footprint. And with tax revenues for the town of Vernon set to shrink with the plant's shutdown as well, the Vernon Planning Commission is eyeing potential revenues from the proposed gas plant as they turn the town loose on the decision. And while new revenues have the Vernon voters' attention, there's plenty of skepticism about a plant that would seek to utilize a form of fossil fuel that Vermont itself has banned the production of.
Could this be done in Massachusetts or New Hampshire? I think the answer is yes. If we were to buy power from that plant, we're essentially exporting our tax base, in my view. We're also exporting a relatively small number of jobs, but a significant number of construction jobs in the short term.
Now that's one of two special public info meetings, both of which included in-depth presentations from the Brattleboro Planning Commission, as well as lively discussion from the town. You can find those both at brattleboro.tv.org and see the most recent one from this past Wednesday on BCTV Channel 10 in the coming week as well, and all the details on that potential gas plant. And with that, it's time to launch into the storm of media chaos that is the coverage of the 2016 primary, as Democrats Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton join a host of Republican hopefuls just across the river in New Hampshire in prep for Tuesday's primary vote. And for Vermont's own Bernie Sanders, a win over Clinton in New Hampshire could help spark an ever-growing wave of momentum for the longtime progressive politician. Once considered by the general public to be a protest candidate only, Sanders' campaign now sits atop an unprecedented wave of grassroots support that delivered him a virtual tie with Clinton in the Iowa primary earlier this week, something that even 2 months ago most political pundits would have scoffed at. And while the mainstream liberal media continues to aggressively back Clinton, Bernie seems to have solidified his place as a champion of the people, with dominating numbers in most major online polls, as well as social media platforms across the board. And while outlets like CNN and the New York Times continue to openly and publicly marginalize the Sanders campaign, Bernie's supporters have been quick to identify CNN owner Time Warner's financial backing of Hillary's campaign as a source of such unequal treatment within the press, something that has seemed to only fuel both the Sanders campaign and his tens of thousands of supporters on the ground.
Thank you, King. You know, it sounds to me like you're ready for a political revolution. It Sounds to me like you're tired of establishment politics and establishment economics.
That's a clip of Bernie Sanders speaking in Keene this Tuesday, the day after his success at the Iowa caucus confirmed him as a serious contender for anyone that still had doubts. Now, Abby, you were actually following the Iowa caucus very closely for us here at 545 Live on Monday, including generating this special report with what looks like, I believe, the city of Des Moines in the background behind you. Let's take a flashback to that special report now.
On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders is leading the polls with 62% of support from first-time caucusers, with Hillary Clinton at 35%. Their numbers are much closer from previous caucusers, Sanders in the lead at 52% and Clinton trailing at 41%, despite her many public endorsements, including one from her husband, former President Bill Clinton.
All right, we're going to have plenty more coverage with last night's debate fresh on everyone's mind. And of course, there were those town hall meetings on CNN the day before, all leading up to the actual New Hampshire primary vote this coming Tuesday. For more on just what that scene is like across the river for the primary, we're going to take you back 4 years now to the 2012 primary, when BCTV producer Frederick Noyes was there to gather some of the, what you could perhaps describe as insanity there.
Moving on, big news this week for members of the Leland and Gray board and staff, as their $7 million budget was passed on the first try even via townwide vote this Wednesday, something that administrators don't take for granted after their FY15 budget was rejected by voters not once but twice. And while there's no doubt that double rejection still lingers, the main topic at this year's annual meeting on Tuesday was that of Act 46, the statewide legislation that will force towns, including those under Leland and Gray's purview, to adopt several forms of consolidation in order to obtain much-needed tax relief from the state. But even with all the committee work done in the past several months to address these coming changes, none of it played a part in this round of budget numbers, says WCSU Superintendent Stephen John.
Despite the changes, the legislature has taken action regarding adjusting requirements of the Act 46 allowable growth provisions, but that does not affect the article or the amount of money in the budget.
You can see all the details on the budget at this year's Leland and Gray annual meeting, which was included as part of their regular board meeting from this Tuesday, February 2nd. Find it at BrattleBoroTV.org and, of course, on BCTV, Channel 10 as well. I can sense a theme there. All right, next up, the ballot for Brattleboro Select Board is now set. In fact, you can even download sample ballots for your respective district in Brattleboro, Districts 1, 2, or 3, and prep for town meeting day voting this coming March 1st. Those are available at the town website to check out. As again, the majority of town meeting rep seats will go uncontested, along with the 3-year seat for Brattleboro Select Board, as Kate O'Connor looks to return without opposition. That is, however, not the case with the 1-year seats, as Brattleboro political newcomer Avery Schwenk, co-owner of the Hermit Thrush Brewery on High Street, joins one-time board member Dick DeGray in challenging incumbent David Gardenstein, with the 3 candidates vying for a pair of 1-year seats on the Brattleboro Select Board. And with the excitement of a contested race brewing, no pun intended, BCTV is teaming up with WKVT to host a special live candidates forum slated to broadcast 2 clicks up the dial on Channel 10. As well as simulcasting live on 92.7 WKVT FM this coming Thursday at 7 p.m.
Now, speaking of the Brattleboro Select Board, they had some work of their own to do this week in prep for the area's massive event, the Harris Hill Ski Jump, whose February 20th and 21st weekend of competition required the approval of special permitting at this week's regular Select Board meeting in order to go forward.
We want everybody to hear very clearly that we can make snow, and as long as we have the cold weather, we're scheduled to make snow next week, so the event will take place.
And you can bet when Harris Hill does grace the region in a couple weeks, BCTV producers will be out gathering lots of footage. In fact, we'll even have our BCTV aerial helicopter there on Friday for practice jumps to get some overhead shots, really show you what it looks like to go flying off that hill there. So look forward to all that work. In the meantime, let's look at the compilation video from last year's Harris Hill Ski Jump event.
ski jumping is back in Brattleboro, Vermont.
Here he comes, folks. It's going to be a long one. Make a little noise.
Watch jumpers from 5 nations fly at 60 miles an hour. Come experience the best of winter, February 14th and 15th, with food, music, and beer tent on Brattleboro's Olympic-sized ski jump. Go to harrishillskijump.com and find us on Facebook.
Next up, Vermonters have been able to recycle certain batteries at a select few locations for the last couple of years, but a new state law implemented starting January 1st of this year has drastically simplified the process, now allowing residents in this area to bring their batteries of all shapes and sizes, excluding only automotive parts like car batteries, to Brooks Memorial Library at any point during regular library hours, at which point the unwanted batteries will be handed off to the state's battery disposal contract company, an Atlanta-based outfit called Call to Recycle. State officials behind the new legislation hope this will see drastic reductions in the number of batteries destined for the landfill, and with recycling batteries carrying a reuse value of their own for the companies collecting them, this all comes at no extra cost to Vermont taxpayers, which should be welcome news across the board.
Next up, it's a big weekend for a cappella, the increasingly popular musical medium that replaces instruments with humming and bopping, creating voice-only performances, a practice that has become so popular, in fact, that the Brattleboro Museum and Arts Center's annual collegiate a cappella concert fundraiser, which will bring a night of song to the Latches tomorrow, has been sold out for months. But never fear, as has been the case for the last 5 years, BCTV will be there to cover all the performances and turn it into some of the most hotly anticipated local programming of the year.
And not to be outdone by the university-level performers, high school groups from across the region will gather tonight for their own a cappella performance at the Brattleboro Museum for an equally anticipated night of music. And this year, for the first time ever, BCTV will be there to cover the high school performances as well, thanks to the work of BCTV volunteer Bob Glennon, who will be gathering footage tonight that we hope to show you on next week's edition of 545 Live.
Now, as promised, time to launch into our BCTV video calendar. This is all sponsored by the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, as their contributions to BCTV each year help fund our weekly look at area upcoming events. And it is the first Friday of the month, so it's Gallery Walk, which is a good place to start the calendar. So much going on in not just downtown, but out Putney Road and out West Brattleboro as well. If you want to find out more about all the Gallery Walk happenings, you can check out Gallery Walk's own official website, gallerywalk.org.
Moving on with the calendar, in addition to a cappella this weekend, the Hooker Dunham Theater gets set to play host to comedian Esler Oreste, who will present a show entitled What's Funny, complete with comedy, music, movies, and more.
Hey, dude, I'm having a show at Hooker Dunham. Yeah, you should come, definitely. Whoa! Oh, hey. Sorry, I was just flying. There's a lot of cool things. There was something I was gonna say.
The show. Talk about the show.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
No problem. I have a show at the Hooker Dunham. Please come. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be like good. So you should come. 7 p.m. Hooker Dunham. Be there. Whoa!
All right, next up on the calendar, the Brattleboro Area Hospice is kicking off a new series of bereavement support groups for those struggling with the death or perhaps impending death of a loved one. And for more info on which of their 4 upcoming groups might be right for you, you can call the hospice's Connie Baxter at 802-257-0775, extension 104.
And we touched on it last week, but we'll give you a quick reminder that with tax season in full swing, the United Way is looking to help area residents making less than $50,000 a year by offering free tax services from IRS certified professionals. Make an appointment for yourself or simply find out more by calling 802-257-4011.
That's just about it for this here edition. Thanks for joining us, but we're going to do it all again next week, so check in with us then as well, right here on BCTV, Comcast, Cable Channel 8 at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, thanks for watching.
Hi, Roland from BCTV 545 News. It's Jonathan Cow at Harris Hills.